All right, welcome to yet another episode of the Women's Cricket Podcast, the place where we discuss all things women's cricket. Been a while since we did one of these, Neha. How have you been and how's women's cricket treating you?
Hi, Akshay. Really happy to be back here. I know we are doing the whole fortnightly format because of the IPL, but at least on the women's cricket front, a lot of exciting things have been happening. I mean, obviously, with the qualifier happening, we've been having a lot of discussion off record. Nice to channel some of that here as well, but excited for what's to come because we have the Tri Series and a bunch of things that is just very quietly happening. I know the IPL just hogs a lot of the limelight, but at least on the women's cricket front, I believe there's a lot to talk about. And yeah, let's see how this conversation unfolds.
Yeah, definitely lots that's happened so far. I mean, in terms of the qualifier and a bunch of other things. Just that IPL and this and that and everything has us so caught up. And I mean, I guess that is what it takes to sort of be in the world of cricket. None of us are complaining that there's so much cricket to watch. We all are happy, and it is a very interesting space to be in at this point in time. Of course, lots to talk about. Of course, hello to Janvi and Mani. Thank you so much for tuning in. I know it's Saturday afternoon. It's supposed to be a Super Saturday. We have a double header coming in today and tomorrow. Not the easiest of times, unfortunately. Yeah, it is what it is. But all of you joining in later, please make sure you also come to YouTube and hit the like button over here. Let's swiftly start with the World Cup qualifier. We've got a game going on right now as we speak. Pakistan are taking on Bangladesh over there. Two sides that have all but qualified for the main event. Pakistan to have qualified, uska to koi tension nahi hai. They are unbeaten in the tournament. I don't think we expected that coming from them. Bangladesh being the other side also is not something I expected. I really thought, यार West Indies have it in their pockets. वो तो आगे चली जाएंगे. Tension की बात नहीं है. Tournament opener and we see Scotland upsetting them. Neha, let's start with that. Do you want to call a state wins by Scotland an upset now going forward?
Honestly, at this point, I wouldn't want to call them upsets because Scotland has been doing reasonably well, right, in women's cricket. We have seen a lot of them, play in the England domestic side of things. So there are a lot of players who are coming in with that sort of an experience. And Scotland has known to, punch above their weight, beat men's cricket. Now, even in women's cricket, they have bona fide match winners as well. I mean, the World Cup qualifier has been quite exciting, right? Such interesting results. I thought Scotland, after the win, they registered versus West Indies, they would kind of continue, that momentum. I thought the win, they would also, win versus Bangladesh, but that was not the case. And then just losing to Ireland as well, meant their campaign was entirely derailed. But props to Pakistan. I think none of us had pegged them to, be one of the teams to eventually qualify. They've had such a, I don't know, like clean campaign. Like there's not a lot to complain about. I mean, once we get into the nitty gritties of Sidra Amin and a lot of other batters and their strike rates being maybe a little concerning and slightly put under this kind of. But I think all they would be happy, right, with the kind of campaign they've had. I think off record as well, we were discussing would be the second team. I mean, it looks like it's going to be Bangladesh. But can West Indies, pull off some sort of a miracle today? It seems again very, very unlikely. I mean, they will win probably versus Thailand, but a very closely contested World Cup qualifier. Right? Imagine if there were more teams and more slots, open. In the marquee World Cup itself, we would see such a competitive one, right? So yeah, I think I just opened a can of worms with a lot of talking points, but all in all, I think it's been a very competitive, World Cup qualifier.
Oh, 100%. I don't think any games been, extremely one-sided. Even the games featuring Thailand, who was supposed to be the quote-unquote weakest team, they've actually competed very well, man. I've been mighty impressed with some of the batters and bowlers over there, and they've really come a long way. Hopefully, we get to see a lot more of them going forward. And importantly, we'll get to see them being a part of these mega events. Yeah, we all remember 2020, how they, upset Pakistan. That was like a proper upset no one saw coming. So it is important को मौके दो वहाँ पे यार, and you never know, we might see a couple of very pleasant surprises coming up on that front. And I do agree with you. Scotland, Ireland, West Indies, Bangladesh, Pakistan, on their day they can easily defeat the likes of New Zealand, West Indies. Not West Indies, New Zealand, Sri Lanka, South Africa, even India, even for that matter. On their day they can very easily defeat that, and that's what makes it so open, and which is why it's important कि तुम सिर्फ 8 टीम का टूर्नामेंट क्यों कर रहे हो यार. Like कम से कम 10 या 12 का होता तो फिर भी समझ में आता है. It's just too less. And of course, starting with Scotland, the way they've performed very happy with some of the players over there. My team is we will talk about them a bit more. Of course, Pakistan have qualified. In all likelihood, it will be a hybrid model, which means Pakistan will station themselves in either Sri Lanka or UAE, and all the other 7 teams will have to travel there. Of course, the nitty gritties haven't been zeroed in upon. They will wait for the tournament to end before they take a call. And in case, whatever, if PCB and BCCI reach some sort of a middle ground where, yeah, if they agree कि हाँ ठीक है हम लोग एक जगह पे ही रुकेंगे in India, you never know. Of course, these things, a lot of negotiations happen, behind the scenes. So something like that is still faintly possible, but fair to assume that it is going to be a hybrid model, like Mani and Amit have alluded to. Cricket Go says, looks like Pakistan and West Indies will qualify. Bangladesh's net rate will take a massive hit today. Thoughts? Cricket for it'll have to be not only a massive dent to Bangladesh's net run rate. West Indies themselves will have to crush, absolutely annihilate Thailand to be able to make for something. I was telling Neha right now, Bangladesh sit firmly on top with a net run rate of plus 1.1. West Indies are at minus 0.2. वहां से वहां तक जाने के लिए both Bangladesh will have to lose firstly by margin of about 200 runs. West Indies will also have to win by a similar margin, if not 200, 150, 200 runs. That's बहुत ज़्यादा. I mean, those are two highly unlikely events. If that happens, then of course we're all here with popcorn waiting to see something like that. Don't worry about it. Pakistan, Sri Lanka, and the other Asian teams aren't really a real challenge in Sena countries, and of course, they don't challenge the mighty Aussies. Can anyone stop them from lifting the trophy again? That should be the question. We'll talk about that to Ayush, of course. Pehle, let's finish the World Cup qualifier. That's literally on its last day today. Pakistan take on Bangladesh. They already are. Bangladesh are right now 110 for 4. And of course, later on in the afternoon, it'll be West Indies versus Thailand. So these are the last games of the group stage. For the uninitiated, there aren't any finals or anything like that. It's a round robin format where everyone plays each other once. And at the end of the league stage, whoever's on top, the 2 teams that is, they go through to the mega event to join the top 6 teams, which include hosts India, Australia, South Africa, New Zealand, England, and Sri Lanka. Now, coming back, of course, to Scotland, I've been mighty impressed, of course. Bryce sisters to hey, and the fact that Scotland came up with these performances with practically no contribution from the younger Bryce. Sarah hardly contributed, and that is something they probably not they she probably would be upset about or regret. I mean, I wouldn't say regret, but unhappy about. Because you expect a lot from them. They are the backbone of that batting unit. Unfortunately, Saskia Holy had to miss out due to personal reasons. That was already a huge blow. Sarah Bryce averaging in the low 20s in a tournament, across 6 games is not something they would have also imagined. They would have expected better from her. That's why Catherine Bryce stepped up. Yeah, yesterday became the first Scottish woman to score a century in the Monday format. So that was also fantastic to watch. Unfortunately, not good enough. And when they are clearly lacking is the bowling department. That's something they will have to focus a bit more on. Even against Bangladesh, they conceded 276. Against Pakistan as well, the way they bowled, you could see 30 overs mein 180 odd. Banane ke baad bhi, they weren't able to defend it. And that's potentially what cost them the game over there. But again, this is just us being a bit harsh because we know there's a lot of potential over there. And hopefully we'll get to see that potential materialize. Been mighty impressed with a couple of the names that I haven't seen too much of. Abtaha Maqsood, World Cup mein bhi dekha tha. Nice wrist spinner. But Catherine Fraser has to be one of my picks for the tournament itself. Very impressed with her. Love to see her bat and a very good off spinner as well, the way she kept bowling. But batting me, importantly, she seemed like one of those who didn't mind taking the aerial route. So I was very happy with her. Neha, what about you in terms of the Scotland side, specific names? Who were you happy seeing?
For me, I think had to be Priyana's Chatterjee, right? I think the kind of partnership that she had with Rachel Slater in one of those games was just amazing. Like, we saw how they kind of had a collapse. They needed someone to arrest that collapse. And the way this duo, kind of just backed it out was amazing to see. I think Jeet, for the longest time, was the, big proponent of Priyana's Chatterjee kind of making that sort of an impact, being that sort of an impact player as well. And her coming to the fore and delivering when her team needed it the most was really, really nice to see. It's always nice to see, names like this come. I mean, we know the convention, Bryce sisters to do well, Abtaha Maqsood. We've seen enough of her in the 100. but newer names, coming to the forefront and delivering is definitely nice. So at least this way, the results feel more like, inclusive of the entire team. Like it feels like an entire team effort as opposed to just single players performing. Just look at West Indies, right? I think their fortunes just heavily rested on Hayley Matthews doing, the bulk of the heavy lifting. And in some of the games when she was injured or when, she was out early, you could see the kind of impact it had on the result as well. Stephanie Taylor as well, couldn't really step up and do her thing. Kiana Joseph, Zaida James. I mean, kitna hi expect karoge, right? So I think those were some of the issues that were ailing, teams like West Indies, where they were dependent on one match winner to do the thing. I mean, I'm guessing we will talk about the West Indies and how probably, we had pegged them to be one of the teams that will travel to India, but slightly unfortunate that they may probably not, make it there. But Scotland, all in all, will be very happy with the kind of effort they put in. Narrowly missing out probably a few areas, as you said, they could probably work on the bowling side of things and see how that will work out well for them. But nice to see them at least being in the qualifiers, being in at least on the fringes. Hopefully, they will, make their slot immediate in other marquee events in the future.
Yeah, 100%. Lots to look forward to, and we will get to West Indies as well. Parting thought on Scotland, Rachel Slater, another name again. Very happy seeing her do well with the ball. Importantly, left arm seamers still a rarity in this sport. So it is important that they have variety like that, and the fact that someone like Piana strategy chip in the Ritumoni mold in terms of how she bowls, ekdam aisa doubly medium pace, just bowls those good lengths, and that's what makes it trickier because वो lengths पे खेलना बहुत मुश्किल हो जाता है if you consistently keep hitting them. Chloe Abel was another player I was impressed with. Very nice and a very good action as well. And there clearly seem to be no dearth of talent when it comes to Scotland right now, the women's team and the men's team for what it's worth. So I'm hoping that all of this now comes together soon enough because there's not a lot of. I don't know how much time is left for someone like a Catherine Rice as well. So it's important to make the most of however whatever is left of her because she still is the leader, not just the captain of that side. It's a very young side that way. So hopefully, yeah, onwards and upwards for them. Very good performance. Something they should be proud of. I know in hindsight, all of us would be gutted. Ki, yaar, chance humko India aane ka. They should have won that game against Pakistan. We all understand, we all share those sentiments, we agree, but it's okay. It's okay. It happens. And not just Pakistan, they could have won the game against Bangladesh, they could have won the game against Ireland, all those, ifs and buts. But he a good performance, something to be proud of for sure. Next up, let's talk about West Indies, since they already brought them up. Yeah, itna zyada dependency on one player. How it's it's a recipe for disaster, right? You brought that up. The fact that they had the likes of Chanel Henry, they had the likes of Stephanie Taylor, even bowling, if you go further, there's Karishma Ramirak. There are enough options, experienced options, but hardly anyone contributed enough to be able to win those games. I'm not saying they not contribute at all. Of course, they all chipped in little ways, but it's not enough, right, Neha?
Yeah, I think West Indies, for one, would be extremely disappointed with the kind of performances they've put in. I think the first dent in their campaign was that loss to Scotland, right? I mean, losing by just 11 runs never really augurs well. I mean, when you start your campaign on that sort of a losing note, but then again, they kind of did bounce back with those wins against, I think, Ireland, and then they again lost to Pakistan, right? So it's been that sort of a, not that great tournament. Again, we have spoken about that over dependence on Hayley Matthews time and enough, but expected the other players to step up because now in franchise cricket we do see, right, other names kind of making their presence felt. So you'd expect them to also kind of do the heavy lifting, but again, just expecting Hayley Matthews to bail you out every single time is very unfair. Hopefully, West Indies does, look back at some of their performances because a lot of the players were coming in, having played domestically in their tournament Super 50. So I thought, thoda match experience hoga, they'll be able to translate that to the qualifiers. I hope it is not a case of complacency for them because everyone was certain that West Indies would be the team to watch out for. They will make it through, but then it clearly wasn't the case, and it kind of also made the qualifiers interesting, right? Because we're going to see another team instead of them kind of just leapfrogging them and making it to that World Cup. Hopefully, West Indies does come back stronger, because you don't want performances which are just, like a flash in the pan sort of a thing. You want them to be more consistent with that. And hopefully, Haley Matthews, too, right, can lead from the front, inspire that group, and just get performances like that.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, of course, we are happy for Pakistan, and like Sanjit mentioned, wish we could host them in India as well, but uska abhi pata nahi hai. But West Indies will want to take a hard look at themselves. Of course, Deandra Doughton was a huge miss. No one's going to deny that. Mani also saying that West Indies will miss Deandra a lot. She's a game changer. They are the most dependent on Matthews, but they've got good players. Then Henry, Kiana Joseph, and Taylor. Uh, the thing is, see, with Chanel Henry, I do agree. Jeet and I also had a chat on this. Jeet, of course, is a friend of the podcast, so apologies if we keep mentioning his name. He's also, again, a fan of the sports, someone who we love talking women's cricket too. And it is evident that Chanel Henry has, gotten a lot of confidence from that WPL gig, which is great. Every game she started off with a boundary. She hit a boundary in her first 3-4 balls in every innings. तो वो तो क्लियर था कि उसको मारना ही था irrespective of the game situation. The score might be 180 for 6 and they're chasing 100 runs and all of that. Even then, she'll come and try to go for it, irrespective. And that's where I felt that if you marry that aggression with a bit of application, that'll be perfect. And she can be a very potent West Indies weapon for the Windies going forward. But थोड़ा उनको अभी भी वो दिमाग वाला scene, it's still not developed yet. The game wherein she thinks, understands when to attack, when not to attack. I hope she becomes a Pollard and not a Russell. I don't know if that is the right analogy, but you know why Pollard was so great, because he knew when to attack, he knew how to take his time, he knew the bowlers he would want to go after. You don't go after every bowler in front of you just because you think you can hit sixes. That shouldn't be the case. It should never be an ego battle. It very easily can become one, but you should not let that get to your head. So that's why Chanel Henry, if she is able to break that mental barrier, the world's hero, so she can really do well. Another name that no one's speaking about that I really enjoyed watching and I really think could potentially become the future of West Indies, that is Zaida James. I loved watching her bat at number 8, number 9 in the World Cup. I was like, yeah, isko promote karo. And I was very happy to see it then promote her this time around in the qualifier. Number 3 pe pehle promote kiya tha. Then they dropped Kiana Joseph and made her the opener, which was the right move, except that bizarre run out. Yaar. Itna kharab run out tha yaar. Zaida, you had a great chance to probably cement your spot there. And unfortunately, she ran herself out. But I really think there's a lot of potential to work there with her as well. In some sense, very similar to Kanika Ahuja, a short left-hander, accesses a few unique areas, but she's a lot more conventional. Packs a punch for shot, like Neha mentioned. Very, like, technique-wise, she's got a very sound technique. Bats close to her pads. The drives are good. The cuts are good. The pulls are good. Maybe does not have a lot of raw power, but she more than makes up for it with her ability to stay in the middle for longer periods. So definitely one to watch out for. Bowling ke saath bhi Alia Lane, all of them did decently, but yeah, you expect more from the Windies, given that they play a lot more cricket than some of the associate nations, especially against the top flight teams. So it is important that they do come good. But so far so good for them. Ireland की बात करते हैं. Again, another team that no one really gave a chance to, but they are a test playing nation nonetheless. They have played Bangladesh recently, they played India recently, last year they played Pakistan, so clearly they had enough international cricket under their belt. But Neha, क्या लगता है Ireland के बारे में? Like, how do you look at them with a hint of optimism? Do you look at them with sort of a mindset of यार क्या कर रहे हैं आप?
No, with Ireland, I think it's clearly a case of, just me being very optimistic about their future, because the kind of players they have in their ranks, right, starting right from Sarah Forbes to even someone like Katie Lewis, who's just leading the side, I think seems very formidable. Like in just yesterday's match, right, we saw how Laura Delaney came to the party. It was Ed Joyce's last match, like as the head coach, and I think it was a very fitting farewell to the man. He's been associated with the team for a good, I think, 5+ years, right? So in that sense, it was really nice. But again, with Ireland, right, I think they've just been progressing in the right direction. It's a tad bit unfortunate that they just don't get as many, like bilateral series or international exposure. Like I just remember the series versus India. After that, again, there's like a massive layoff, and then they were coming to play this qualifiers. So I only hope to see that they have a more robust like domestic system that comes into play, that eventually translates to them playing a lot of international cricket, because that experience really helps, right? I mean, just look at the players they have in their ranks. You have Amy Hunter, you have Ola Prendergast. We've spoken so highly about them. Even Leah Paul, right, with her cameos coming in here and there. Even on the bowling side of things, right, there's a lot to be optimistic about. Be it Eva Keening, you have Kara Murray and all of them. So I'm just hoping that Ireland finds a way to, kind of just groom and nurture this batch of players. They did fairly well in the under 19 World Cup as well, right? I mean, they did register those few very special wins. So it's an incredible group. I just hope they get that sort of match awareness as they, play a lot more games, and hopefully a robust domestic system that can, favor the growth of their national team.
I mean, it's an interesting mix of players that they've got. I'd say probably would be a bit more harsh than Neha, because if I compare Ireland to the likes of, say, Scotland or Thailand, they do play a lot more international games. So that way I'm expecting that much more from them at an event like the qualifier, because they are technically the more experienced team. So given that, thoda to matlab और ज़्यादा application, और ज़्यादा wins, और ज़्यादा wins चाहिए, especially against the likes of Bangladesh and the works, because they are right up there. I do agree with Neha. This top six is very good. Like, the fact that they've managed to, stitch together a top six that consists of six equally competent batters. Amy Hunter, Sarah Forbes, Ola Prendergast, Gaby Lewis, Laura Delaney, Leah Paul. Acha, badhiya hai. Any of these batters on there, they can win you a game. We've seen Leah Paul win you games in Bangladesh. We saw Laura Delaney win them the game yesterday. Ola Prendergast, we don't have to talk about. Gaby Lewis, a fantastic talent, one to definitely watch out for. Someone who I think is one of the better openers in international cricket across teams. So there बहुत potential है. Sarah Forbes, Amy Hunter, they are getting into their own in terms of contribution. So वो अच्छा है. But it's once again on the bowling front that I'm not sure. Like, do they have good enough bowlers? Do they have a good enough bowling attack? They've got a couple of bowlers here and there. Ola Prendergast, of course, comes to mind. Eva Canning, another name. But when I look at, Louise Little, or when I look at, I don't know, who else do I look at in terms of, okay, this bowler I look at, even Leah Paul for that matter. The one whom I really liked, unfortunately, Amy Maguire, वो पता था action थोड़ा sus है, and वो हुआ. So, not sure, like, क्या होगा वहाँ पे. And one thing I wanted to confirm with Neha, I don't remember checking up on this. Freya Sargent wasn't available, or what exactly happened? Do you know?
Not sure, Akshay. I think she was probably unavailable, because in all the squad announcements and everything, didn't really see a mention of hers, unless she's injured and they're not probably disclosing that. But very surprised to see that she wasn't a part of this setup, right? Would have added probably a lot more value to the bowling attack side of things as well. But yeah, if any of our viewers can also probably confirm that, it would be great.
Yep. I'm also just confirming that, yeah, there seems to be no update. I was just checking online as well in case if there's any update on it. There seems to be no update. Like, even when the squad was announced, they primarily spoke about Amy Maguire missing, and she's a youngster and all of it. But yeah, I'm very surprised that, like, Freya Sargent के बारे में ज़्यादा बात नहीं हुआ है. Surprising, because she was also part of one of this one, right? She was contenders for the breakthrough player of the year or something like that. She was one of the nominees along with Shanka Patil and Aniri Dirksen. So I hope that all's well on that front, because वहाँ पे भी बहुत potential था. Someone like her also played, it would have added a bit more oomph to the bowling attack. But again, hopefully, they can build a much better bowling attack going forward, and they can start grooming in youngsters a lot more on that front at least, because that top six is definitely one that will stay for a while now. Maybe Laura Delaney she's the oldest member of the group, so unke alawa baki sab young hai, everyone's in their 20s. So hopefully, they've got a nice score for the future. But yeah, I mean, Ireland definitely something to be proud of. The other team now, of course, will be Thailand, that unfortunately did not make it through to the top two, not that anyone was expecting them to. But I personally have been pleasantly surprised with the way they've played. Neha, again, it is good to see teams like these coming up with such performances.
Absolutely. I think Thailand has been one team, that every time they step onto the field, you know that they have that capability to produce something special. But actually, I'm not sure if you have also read up on this, that Thailand's qualification for this event also was on the basis of their ODI performances, right? And they played what, like 8 or 9 ODIs, and they won 8 out of that. So that's how, that kind of paved their way for the qualification, as opposed to other teams like, your UAE, Netherlands, and all of that. So I think that's, again, probably a discussion for another day of how ICC can do better for the associate nations. Probably come out with like a men's CWC League Two sort of a structure. There's more openings, to get into the qualifiers. But Thailand still, they would be really happy, because I think it was during the 2022 Women's ODI World Cup that they were like very heartbroken. The qualifiers was going to happen in Zimbabwe, but it was cancelled because of COVID and everything. But anyway, like Thailand again coming into this qualifiers, none of us probably gave them a chance to make it through. But very inspiring performances coming from them, especially that match versus Pakistan, right? Restricting them to what, 205 was amazing, right? I mean, you would have expected Pakistan to, just back them out of the game, just like post a massive total and then bowl them out. But I think Thailand would really pride themselves for being able to restrict a side like Pakistan in their home conditions and actually dominate. Unfortunately, that they were on the wrong side of the result. They were scheduled for whatever 118. But even then, right, a few performances here and there have been really great. Again, Thailand would pride themselves that we made it so far in the tournament without losing by those massive margins. Just hoping again that they get a lot more matches. I remember a couple of the players, being a part of the women's T20 challenge that India hosted, during the IPL and precursor to the WPL, so to say. So hoping that we get to see some players also make their presence in the WPL as associate players, and this can be a good, exposure ground for scouts also to kind of pick them on. So yeah, I think Thailand showing great signs, but hopefully they can, capitalize on this and make their presence felt.
Yeah, it's something to be definitely proud of. The way they bowled against Pakistan was very heartening to see. Just 200 pe reset karna is not so easy. Would have been, very easy for Pakistan to go after the bowlers, but Thailand ensured that they kept it tight. Very well done. What I was actually more impressed with was their batting against Ireland after conceding 280, 270, if I'm not wrong. The way they came back in the second innings, almost threatening to chase the target down. That was fantastic to watch, because I am sure Ireland ka bowling attack might not be the strongest out there, but for Thailand to come back into the game that way was very heartening to watch. I'm not going to take specific names because I know I will be butchering pronunciations and I feel too conscious about it, but I'll still try and make an effort. You cannot look past the opener, Nataya Buchatam. Very well done. Like, I loved seeing her bowl. I love seeing her bat. A very feisty competitor, very fierce. One who does, like, she reminds me of myself because I'm that even when I'm playing gully cricket. Very, very, very feisty. That was very nice to watch. The way she batted also took the attack to the bowlers, was not too defensive. It's not too uncommon to see, batters take their time, especially in some of the lesser known teams. They just take 30 balls, 40 balls to score 10, 15 runs. Wasn't the case with her. And then her off spin, yeah, she was very good over there as well. Happy with some of those performances. Then even while chasing down, they were actually like 100 odd for 4. From there, they could have again collapsed and been bundled out for like 140, 150 to be able to take it till 250, 260 through their middle order. Well done. Again, talent to bahut zyada, like Neha said. Hopefully, they get a lot more exposure. Fabric का भी पता नहीं है क्या scene होएगा. So I just hope कहीं ना कहीं से उनको मौके मिलते रहे, across tournaments. But well done, Thailand. Something to definitely be proud of. Might sound a bit harsh, but this is where I want leagues like CPL and all also to be better with their overseas recruitment. Yeah, like you can't be going to, I don't know, I don't want to take specific names, छोड़ो. But जो आप existing overseas players recruit कर रहे हो, उनसे तो better है भाई Thailand वाले. उनको ही ले लो यार. और कुछ नहीं तो मतलब, yeah, like it's not just about performances. It's also about the fact that they will be a lot more motivated to contribute to the team. Let me just put it that way. So I hope they do get more chances, of course. So that was that from Thailand brief, but yeah, they've done very well for themselves and something to be proud of. Sportsman, we will be discussing this. Don't worry, we will definitely be talking about this in due course. And Money, we will talk about this as well. No worry about that. But yeah, next up, of course, let's talk a bit about Bangladesh and the way they've performed. Neha, again, we all spoke about how Bangladesh will be favourites given the conditions and given the spin attack. Not too surprising.
Yeah, I think Bangladesh would be really happy with the kind of performances they put in right through this tournament, the kind of wins they got versus Thailand, Ireland, and Scotland. That's three massive wins. I know a lot of people will be like, "Ha, like they would have to face the tougher oppositions later on, the likes of West Indies and Pakistan coming later." But getting those three wins up front really set them up well, especially that win versus Thailand, right? A massive 178 run win. That was probably one of the reasons why their net run rate got that sort of a massive boost, and they didn't kind of look back from there. So I think all in all, Bangladesh would be very pleased with their performance because you had the likes of Nigar Sultana Jyoti leading from the front, contributing with the bat. A lot of other players also, stepping up and doing their thing. At no point Bangladesh felt uncomfortable or not deserving to be the winners. They would be very happy with their campaign. Probably that loss versus West Indies will hurt a little because they were in a situation where they could have pressed that accelerator and just gone all out. But West Indies, pulling off that sort of a 3 wicket win to still keep their hopes alive. But yeah, Bangladesh again, hopefully in today's match as well, they can probably challenge Pakistan and seal a win because they've done well right through this tournament, getting those three wins. It's very reminiscent of England and how they did in the T20 World Cup. They won those matches. You were like, huh, they will easily make it through to the next stage, and then a team just comes out of syllabus like West Indies and snaps up, takes up that spot. Very unlikely that it would happen today. But Bangladesh, I think there are still some areas like some of their batters with their strike rates was concerning. But again, it's the nature of the battles, right? These teams are not ones who will really challenge you so much. So yeah, Bangladesh again, a big thumbs up to the kind of performance they put in, and hopefully they can end their campaign on a high and just I don't know, produce an upset versus Pakistan today.
Yeah, I to be honest wouldn't call that an upset at all. Like at this point in time, so I would probably go as far as to say Bangladesh is the stronger of the two. Even after this qualifier, they've been very good to watch, and that's not something I've said often of Bangladesh because they have been one of those sides जिनको देख के लगता है कितना बोरिंग क्रिकेट खेलते हैं कुछ तो कर लो भाई 20 ओवर में 100 से ज्यादा नहीं 50 ओवर में 150 से ज्यादा नहीं क्या देख रहे हैं but the way they've played this qualifier Nigar Sultana Jyoti of course has really taken the attack to the bowlers the way she's gone after some of them she's that century she scored the fastest for any Bangladeshi woman 80 ball 100 and then even against who was it? West Indies. Yeah, she scored a 75 ball 60 odd against not against Pakistan, against Ireland. Also, she scored an 80 of 60 odd or something like that. So consistently did very well. And Sharmeen Akhtar, that was the other name I was looking forward to. Happy to see her also not too badly because she's the one name I'll be looking forward to. We saw her in that Ireland series too. One of the only players in that Bangla lineup who actually likes attacking. Nigar Sultana also does, but she knows that as captain, she also has to, ensure that she stays till the end and all of it. That's why Sharmeen Akhtar is so crucial to that lineup. Bowling ke saath to kya hi bole yaar, like Nahida Akhtar, Marufa Akhtar, Rabia Khan, Ritu Moni, everyone's contributed. So, बहुत अच्छा जा रहा है उनका. They really shaping up to be a good side. Now it depends on the kind of surfaces they'll play the way World Cup. मतलब क्या होगा वो if it's going to be flat tracks then they might find it tricky हल्का सा if it 8 spinners who knows we might be in for a couple of very interesting games Bangladesh versus New Zealand Bangladesh versus South Africa potentially Bangladesh versus England even यार मतलब अगर थोड़ा सा swing है तो Maruf Akhtar will nicely exploit it and हल्का सा spin है तो भाई उनके पास तो options ही options है spinners के Maruf Akhtar's in-swing deliveries are just too good. Her action is slightly similar to Shabnam Ismail, of course. She's a short girl. She's got a good runner, but Shabnam Ismail's class is different. But her action is beautiful to watch. She's got a very beautiful action. I'm very surprised that she's still not gotten a WPL gig. I was really hoping that she does get one soon enough. In fact, जब Elisa Healy injured हुई थी, that was the name I was hoping UP Warriors go to. So but she's definitely one of the better pacers right now in international cricket. Very, very, very good. बहुत अच्छा pace है. She gets good bounce. Extracts prodigious movement to say the least if the conditions are conducive to it. And yeah, definitely one to watch out for. यार मतलब बहुत बहुत ज़्यादा पसंद है. I agree with Money on that. Bangladesh, of course, things seem to be clicking now. It's important that they get a bit more prep time. Hopefully, they play a few more bilaterals ahead of the World Cup. And yeah, fingers crossed they do well there as well. Because, like I said, this World Cup, I don't think is going to be as one sided as teams or people think. New Zealand is not at their best anymore. Sri Lanka themselves, you just don't know what they're going to offer. South Africa against spin is still sus. England transition period चल रहा है उनका. Charlotte Edwards is coming in, so we don't know how's that actually going to play out. We want to believe it'll be good. We'll talk about it as well in a bit of time. So definitely it's going to be a very interesting World Cup for sure. Last but not the least, time to talk about the hosts, Pakistan, unbeaten. Of course, ज़्यादा हमने शायद starting में बात नहीं किया, but Neha, in terms of positives, again, the way they've been clinical in each of their games, something to be super proud of for Fatima Sana and her girls.
Absolutely, because Pakistan is one side that has been facing a lot of problems off the field, right, with respect to their contracts. I remember reading this article, and I think something we discussed on the podcast as well, that the amount that the players are paid is just so poor. So, in spite of all of these challenges, to, actually put up a performance of repute and worth is a testament, right, to the kind of side that Fatima Sana is building. I mean, we saw the whole, no, I wouldn't call it controversy, but a few questionable choices before the qualifiers started. Like, why is Nida Dar not there? Will Alia Riaz be able to do her thing? But a lot of the names, again, stepping up and doing their thing. I think the way Fatima Sana has just cultivated that culture, right, to just go for the kill every single time is really lovely to see. And it's a big slap, right, to Pakistan cricket as well, to the board that kind of continues to undermine their own players. Uh, so I think Pakistan would be very, very happy registering those 4 wins, being the first team to qualify as well. I was also thinking that now that they've qualified, the hybrid model would possibly, come into play, which means a lot of travel for teams from India to go there. I hope there's some way possible that Pakistan could probably play in like one city in India, but then, as you said, negotiations will have to play out there. But all in all, yeah, Pakistan would be very happy that they were the host nation for this tournament and they were able to make it through. Because if they wouldn't, then I think a lot of people would just end up criticizing Pakistan and continue to, point fingers. Ki, haan, if you end up performing like this, you deserve this. So they've kind of just proven all their detractors wrong. So very, very pleasant sight and great wins as well, right? It's not they were not scrappy wins. It's just at the edge of the seat thriller sort of things. I know a few performances did come under the scandal, especially the win versus Thailand. As like maybe they could have done a little more. But in Sidra, I mean, so many of these players just, actually stepping up and delivering. So great signs for Pakistan, irrespective of all the challenges, doing so well and being the first team to book their place in the World Cup.
Yeah, definitely a lot of positives over there. I'll probably steer clear of that because Neha has alluded to them and I won't simply repeat myself. Definitely a team to be proud of, but yaar, fir bhi thoda in terms of intent, I hope they get better at it, yaar, because if they don't, then we will struggle big time in the mega event. Agar tum consistently 250 ke upar nahi banate, then it's going to be very tricky. World Cup qualifier yahan pe khelna ek baat hai, but doing something like that at the mega event against some of the best sides in the world is completely different. So it is important that they cultivate a bit of that. I know it's usually, more of something that's innate, that's inborn. But if that's not the case, you will have to acquire it. You will have to put in the hard yards and ensure like intent has to be brought in. Wo culture kam se kam hona chahiye ki we want to go and look for boundaries. Fatima Sana, great proponent, happy to see her do well. But Sidra, I mean, I still have my reservations. Yeah, the way she just keeps taking so much time every game, it's something they will have to be wary about. Like Mani also says, she's definitely I mean, her concern that this is definitely going to be a bit of a concern. Apart from that, Muniba Ali did not really light up the tournament, but happy to see her consistently contribute in as many ways possible. Then of course with the ball to yaar, अच्छा उनका नशका Sandhu has contributed. She was one of the highest wicket takers. The Sadia Iqbal, my favorite spinner. Then you've got the likes of Diana Baig, Fatima Sana herself, looking good. Some of the names that I was looking for to वो तो खेले भी नहीं, वो तो squad का भी हिस्सा नहीं थे. So considering that, they've done phenomenally well. Well done. So hopefully, onwards and upwards, they also get a few more games under their belt ahead of the World Cup, and that will help them, build a decently oiled machine, so to say, if not a very well-oiled machine. And yeah, fingers crossed that they do well going forward into the World Cup. But as of course, now to talk about the next tournament that's going to start. Of course, it's a tri series that starts in about a week's time on the 27th of April. So next Sunday, it's India, South Africa, and Sri Lanka. It's a tri series, not something we've seen often enough in recent times across genders, Neha. So super excited for that, right?
Absolutely. Super excited for this one. I think we come from the school of thought that as much cricket that India plays, before that World Cup, it will definitely augur well for the unit. You can be more mentally prepared and just get that sort of game time. Again, just looking at the squad that India has selected, very interesting names. I remember the message you sent me, and I'm like, wait, is Akshay sending me like fake news, or is this actually real? Because some of the selections were interesting. I think we will discuss that in the due course of time as well. I think Sri Lanka has not announced their squad as yet, so just probably waiting on that. Even South Africa, like Marzan Cup not being there now, Annika Bosch being ruled out, Nara Goodall coming in, so a lot of interesting things happening on this front. But as you said, just seeing a tri series in international cricket is a sight to behold. I think. Bilateral cricket after a point just gets extremely boring, but playing more teams and being in that sort of a competitive sphere brings out the best in you. And yeah, just hoping that this tri series also proves all of us wrong, and somehow our excitement is also justified.
Yeah, excitement hopefully will be justified when the tournament or the tie series begins. Let's start off with the Indian squad. Very interesting choices that they've gone for, and I feel I'm being polite when I say interesting. Like कुछ कुछ तो मेरे को लगा कि क्यों ये सब कर रहे हो? Why again? Like 6 months ahead of the tournament, why are you bringing in new names? Why are you complicating everything? Still no Shafali Verma, like we discussed during the WPL and post that as well. Pratika Rawal being the incumbent who's done well, so she continues to get the nod. Fair enough, can't blame them for that. Kashvi Gautam gets her first call up, so fingers crossed we get to see her also being handed an India cap soon enough. Will be fantastic to watch her. Amanjot Kaur made her way back into the setup. Some new names that came in, of course, Sri Charni, Shuchi Upadhyay, both left arm off spinners. Radha Yadav has been excluded. Deepti Sharma continues to be a part of the squad. Sneh Rana also got a call up. Neha, like, let's start straight away. Let's address the elephant in the room. Sri Charni, Shuchi Upadhyay, after having tried the likes of Radha Yadav, who hadn't done too badly for India. I know she had a WPL to forget. But where are you when it comes to giving youngsters a chance 6 months ahead of a tournament?
I don't know, actually. This is, I think, one space where I'm extremely conflicted, right? Because just looking at Sri Charni and Shuchi Upadhyay in isolation, Shuchi Upadhyay is coming from a great senior women's one-day trophy, right? She emerged as what, third or fourth highest wicket taker with those 18 scalps, was a part of the victorious Madhya Pradesh squad. So somewhere maybe it just felt like, BCCI's need to select someone from Madhya Pradesh, just, kind of reward domestic performances. They were looking for one of those left arm spinners. So maybe, Shuchi Upadhyay was on that pecking order. But अगर इतना experiment करना ही था, तो you still had options like Vaishnavi Sharma, right? Oh man, she was just amazing in that multi-day Challenger Trophy. I was so tempted, to be like, should India have probably included her? But again, just looking at who Shuchi Upadhyay came in place of, you still had Tanuja Kanwar, who's just been dropped. Even Priya Mishra, right? Someone we were rooting for. A lot of people feel she's not ready for international cricket and probably will still take her time. Had a great start to the WPL, but tapered off somewhere. For me, more than the inclusions, it was about the case of all the folks who got dropped, and has the communication been very clear to them. This is a World Cup year at the end of the day, and we still look so confused. Like, the new names we keep adding on, are they just helping or are they adding more to the confusion? Somewhere the conflicted part of me, the one part at least looks at the fact that, okay, they're kind of looking at the WPL performances and the domestic performances and rewarding it. But the other side is, what about all the folks who have been excluded, and is the communication still open for them? The contracts also came in, right, recently. So are you just trying to, just jumbling things up and making it very confusing? Really happy for the new names who have been selected. Kashmi Gautam was one name we really wanted, considering how Pooja Asarkar has been injured a lot. If Arundhati Reddy is probably not going to keep making the cut to the playing 11, having someone like Kashmi really makes sense. She's done well in the WPL across games. Her economy is amazing. But again, all of this experimentation, just, so close to the World Cup, honestly didn't make a lot of sense. But this is the Indian think tank, right? We can't really expect more or just be surprised at this point. We just take it as it comes and hope the players can really deliver, right?
I mean, that's always the hope. Yeah, we have to hope against hope when it comes to the Indian women's team and the selections in particular. It's like us trying to, search for logic from this. It's similar to, what film critiques do while reviewing movies. They look for, meaning that's not that. That does not exist. Words are that, the color in the background means this and that. वो वहां पे डायरेक्टर तो कुछ ऐसा सोचा नहीं है, वो तो बस अरे प्रैक्टिकल सॉल्यूशन ये तो ये लगा, तो वही है, इनके दिमाग में कुछ और ही चल रहा होगा. हम अपने दिमाग में 8D चेस खेले कि हाँ, दे प्रॉब्ली वर ट्राइंग टू डू दिस. वो तो कुछ भलता ही सोच रहे हैं. Like we don't know what the logic is. Maybe my mind goes back to the kind of blabber I used to do in last season's WPL. कि शायद शिफाली वर्मान ने अमोल को या किसी को उनो में हरा दिया तो वो गुस्सा है, तो जस्ट आउट ऑफ स्पाइट इज लाइक हटाओ, नहीं चाहिए मेरे को, नए उनो प्लेयर्स चाहिए जिनको मैं हरा सकता हूँ. It could be something as petty as that. Like I don't know. Since sometimes you just don't know what to make of this, because I do agree, Shuchi, Sri Charni, both fantastic talents, no doubt. But what about the fact you had someone like a Tanuja Kanwar there, who had a very decent WPL, who's been a part of the Indian setup in the past? Why did you not give her another chance? What was the reason to let go of her? Was that communication made? Like Neha mentioned, is that being done? We have no clue. And looking at their past history, I think we'll be the stupid ones to think that they've communicated this to the players. We still have no update on what exactly is wrong with Shriyanka Patil. यार, जसप्रीत बुमराह श्रीलंका के बाद इंजर होके वापस भी आ गया भाई. जसप्रीत बुमराह वापस आ गया, और कितना टाइम चाहिए? ऐसा क्या है ये इंजरी? बिकॉज बहन आर्ट्स कर पा रही है, बहन मैचेस देख पा रही है, बहन आराम से बाहर, मतलब सब कुछ कर पा रही है सिवाय क्रिकेट खेलना. मतलब what, at least I'm not doubting her being injured or her injury. Just tell us ना, why are you hiding it? क्यों नहीं बता रहे क्या चल रहा है वहां पे? श्रेयांका, आप भी बता दो यार. Like what is there, like an embargo that even players can't announce what has happened to them? I don't know. I genuinely don't know at this point in time. That's one. Secondly, as much as I love to see someone like a Sneerana come in, someone like an Amanjot Kaur come in, my question is, was it necessary right now? Like, I'm all for, awarding players for their performances, rewarding players for their performances. But again, you've got Deepti Sharma who's not going out of the side. So, will you play both Deepti and Sneerana? I don't know, is that necessary? Next, you've got Arundhati Reddy, you've got Kashmi Gautam, who I think will be ahead in the pecking order when it comes to Amanjot Kaur. So, was Amanjot Kaur necessary? Just thinking out loud. Now, going into the try series, our pace attack, because Renuka Singh Thakur isn't available, looks something like Amanjot Kaur, Arundhati Reddy and Kashmi Gautam, 3 all-rounders. So, uske badle, you could have easily gone to someone like a Tita Shadu, who was injured, if I'm not wrong. Sorry, was Tita also announced? हाँ, तो फिर किसी और पेसर के साथ चले जाते ना. You, so many were there. I was genuinely disappointed, to be honest, when I did not see why am I blanking out on the name? Kranti Gaud, thank God. Huh? When I did not see Kranti Gaud making the cut, why wasn't Kranti Gaud given the nod ahead of Amanjot Kaur? Like, the reason, of course, there's some logic. ऐसा नहीं कि मैं ऐसे ही बता रहा हूँ. You have no pacers, no frontline pacers. Amanjot Kaur आपकी 11 में आएगी क्या? I don't know. Given that Arundhati, Kashi दोनों, I'm expecting both to start ahead of Amanjot. No disrespect to Amanjot. Fantastic player, no doubt. It's just that these two probably fit the Indian setup more or better. तो वहां पे मेरे को वो समझ ही नहीं आया. Like, there seem to be a lot of redundant choices, similar choices. Like, okay, you wanted to try new players. I understand going for one of Shuchi or Sri Charni and going for another incumbent, someone like Tanuja Kanwar. Going for 2 youngsters, one of whom's not even played the WPL. See, like, I really don't know, man. And see, this is white ball cricket. At the end of the day, white ball cricket, WPL, tum fir bhi, you can, draw paddles and you can, take them from the WPL. But I don't know, maybe right now they're just riding the Pratika Rawal wave. You know what? उसने भी WPL नहीं खेला, लेकिन उसको खिला के देखो क्या बन गई है वो. तो मेरे को लगता है अभी थोड़ा ऐसा they've just become a bit arrogant कि अभी देखो हम क्या कहाँ से we'll unearth gems. And I hope they do. I hope they do. Just for my own sake, because we love the team, we love them, and I hope that they do well. I just hope. Just for that sake कि वो अच्छा कर जाए. तो देखना पड़ेगा क्या होता है. Before we go forward, let's take a few of the comments. sports fan asking us, guys, why only 8 teams in the Women's World Cup? And then a need for a qualifier. Why only in cricket do we want to shrink the World Cup to lesser teams? God knows, sports fan. At this point in time, it's just beyond stupid how much gatekeepers try to protect the sport and make this a very elitist, exclusive sport. It's very unfortunate. I completely agree with you. I've been vocally in favor of something like a 32 team World Cup. अगर 32 ज़्यादा लगता है तो 16 team World Cup. जितने ज़्यादा teams उतने better भाई. You want more countries to come and you want more people to play the sport that we all love. It's genuinely sad, man. It's genuinely sad. Of course, the next event is going to be 12 teams for what it's worth. तो हल्का सा वो change हो रहा है. So hopefully we'll get to see a lot more in terms of expansion plans for the cricket, for the sport that is cricket. यार नहीं तो अभी मुश्किल होएगा. Mani giving us his playing 11, Smriti and Pratika to open. Harleen, Harman, Jenny, Richa, Deepti, Kashvi, Sneh और Amanjot, Arundhati, S. Charani. Fair enough, yeah. This could potentially be that first 11. I agree with you on most counts. Fair shout that. Pakistan women आएंगी इंडिया वर्ल्ड कप के लिए पता नहीं यार फिलहाल we have no clue but as things stand they won't be coming in because that's the sort of agreement that both boards signed. You know, we will do a neutral venue when it comes to these nations hosting the tournament, so it could potentially be continued. This is why India is struggling in the recent ICC tournaments. Too many options for just one position, cut and chop. Even Australia have good quality youngsters, but they consistently give chances to the same 15 players. Exactly, Money Man. Exactly. I hope better sense prevails and they understand that. Akshay, are you doing a watch along tonight or afternoon? Yesterday, by the way, was in the Crown. I don't know what in the. I was in the stadium. Oh, nice cricket. Oh, I didn't know you're also from Bangalore Cricket. And no, we're doing a watch along tonight and tomorrow, of course, is a proper marathon 8-hour watch along. So that'll also be fun. Do tune in tonight and tomorrow. Lots to talk about. We'll discuss their cricket info. But thank you. We will be doing a watch along for tonight's game. It's Rajasthan versus Lucknow for the uninitiated. Useless tie series. India is winning that, but we can achieve nothing from it. India should have had a tie series with Australia and England or at least New Zealand. Mandeep, New Zealand से खेल के तो और भी कम फायदा होने वाला है. And sorry, Neha, you had something to say there?
Oh yeah, I mean we are playing England at England later. After the series is done, and we're again playing Australia before the World Cup as well. So at least bilateral series, something is happening. But sometimes I feel, tri-series versus South Africa and Sri Lanka is not the worst things, right? I mean, these are not poor teams on paper. And ODIs, we can see how the scale can tilt in either team's favor depending on how they are batting. And it's good for India to just get as much game time. I really think we shouldn't be complaining about the opposition. And just talking a little bit about Mani's point earlier about why India is struggling so much in ICC tournaments, too many options and all of that. I mean, BCCI just asks for this, like they just make their life difficult with including so many players, getting them in. And what happens a lot of times is they just ensure a debut is given to the player and then you see them nowhere in the picture, right? I remember during the pandemic series as well, a couple of our Karnataka girls like Monica Patel, I think Pratyusha Chaudhary, all of them made their debut and now they are nowhere close to being even, options for their domestic side, let alone India as well. And actually, I think you must have seen this as well. Kalyani Mangle had tweeted about the number of players used by Australia and India from the 2022 ODI World Cup. And you can just see I think India has experimented with the most number of players. That's almost like 33. And Australia was at some 14 or 15. So you can clearly see, right? I mean, we can obviously make our own deductions and how it has worked well for Australia with giving them the sort of results they wanted. But for India, it has constantly proven to be a problem. Like the moment you bring in so many players to set up, just give them opportunities and then they're completely out of reckoning, no transparency about why players are injured. I think it's just making the situation confusing. And fans like us, I mean, probably even analysts are being as vocal as possible, yet it just, falls on deaf ears. So, yeah, I think this was just, I don't know where the rant went, but I hope some points were conveyed, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's always the hope, yeah. I do agree with you on that. And it's sometimes very bizarre how these things work, but yeah, we can like I said earlier, we can only be optimistic and hope against hope at this point in time. Continuing, of course, let's just take the last bit of comments before we move on. Maybe the selectors know they're 15 for the World Cup and now they're just waiting for the injured players to get fit. I don't know, man. I'd be very surprised if they knew they're 15 for the World Cup. Because, it cannot be as straightforward as that. BCCI sacked the support staff for the ICC Champions Trophy. Why do they still continue with Amol Mazumdar and Neetu David? Give a chance to some ex-women's cricketers like Julan, Mushin, Amy Satterwhite. Wow, that's an interesting shout out. Amy Satterwhite के पास चला गया भाई. अभी मतलब sacking का तो पता नहीं यार. Even I'm not a big fan of sacking ahead of a World Cup. अभी 6 महीना बचा because you can't let someone new coming in so late and then expect them to come up with a turnaround. So I'd much rather continue with Amol Mazumdar. कुछ तो clarity, कुछ तो direction सोचा होएगा ना before being selected, 2 years ago. So let's wait. Are the venues of the World Cup fixed, or these are just preliminary and could be changed later? They can definitely be changed later. As a it's not set in stone. And वो जो home leg announce किया था BCCI ने for the Indian men's team. Bangalore is not hosting any game. Mumbai is also hosting just like one game. So I really hope that कुछ हो जाए and they're like ठीक है Bangalore Mumbai में एक आध game खिला लेते हैं World Cup का भी. It'll be great to watch. Hopefully, again, just hoping at this point in time. Anyways, India has lost a quarter of its matches in the group stage. Sad to see. Quarter to ठीक है ना? So you're saying what India's won 75% of the matches in group stage. That's very good. That's too good to be true, Kevin. That I don't think so. Cricket is a time-consuming sport. That's why more, or rather, many advanced countries avoid this. Only Australia focus on it, and that's why they're winning. Amit, I don't know, man. There's so many sports that are time-consuming. Golf है, tennis है, जो लोग खेल लेते हैं, देखते हैं. I don't think that's the only reason. And T20 as a format is just a 3-4 hour long sport. Sure, ODIs and tests might not be conducive to expansion, but T20 इसका तो कर ही सकते हैं ना भाई. तो वही कर लो फिर. So anyways, but yeah, let's see how that plays out. And of course, from India, let's move on to South Africa, the other side that's announced the squad. Like Neha mentioned earlier, unfortunately, no Annika Bosch, Marizan Cup for the staffers. Neha, how do you think will South Africa be able to compete? That's two huge misses in all fairness. I know you've got the likes of Sunil, Laura, then there's of course my favorite Tasman Brits. But do you think they will be able to do decently enough this time around?
Yeah, I really think South Africa will be able to do decent enough. I mean, let's start off with Laura Wolfart, right? We've seen the kind of captain she is, and the way she's just led the side, the way she's been performing herself as a batter too, right? I think that's just been remarkable. They will definitely miss Marizan Cup. I'm not sure. I think it's because of the age-related factor that they were just trying to restrict her game time, manage the workload, so they can keep her fresh for the World Cup. But again, yeah, Marizan Cup is that sort of a bowler. You just want to see her be in that rhythm and be in the best of her performances with as much game time to see the best out of her. But I'm not sure if the South Africa management thinks the same. But I did want to see someone like a Kayla Reneke, right, make her presence in the squad. Matlab, she's so good in that under 19 World Cup. Would have loved to see her being included, because we did see some other names like Seshni Naidu and all of them being included as well. The squad all in all looks very formidable. We've seen a lot of these players too, right? Play franchise cricket and all of that. South Africa, I'm not sure if they'll go on to win the tri series, but at least a few respectable performances so we can expect from them. I hope the likes of Sunel's and Chloe Tryon get those opportunities. They again, are able to not just cement their places in the playing 11, but actually end up contributing as well. You can see there's a good mix of like youth and experience in that sport. So hopefully they can challenge the best of best. And I've been excited to see someone like a Nadine de Klerk, right? Was criminally underutilized or not used at all by Mumbai Indians. So hopefully, we get to see her do her thing here. And even Aravi Dirks, I think someone you rate very highly. We rate very highly also being a part of the setup. Hopefully she can step into the big shoes of Marizan Cup that everyone has kind of pegged her to be. So all in all, South Africa is looking good, and hopefully they can put in a performance to remember, if not just win that tri-series.
Yeah, a couple of new names come in there. Don't know to what extent will they be given chances. Seshni Naidu, like you mentioned, of course, was a part of the World Cup setup. In fact, made a debut there. But abhi dekhte hain ODIs mein bhi khilate hain ki nahi. They've brought in new names that I, of course, don't know a lot of. So something to look forward to for us as well. Karabo Meso makes it to the side. Lara Goodall's come in. There's Smith who's come in. And there are the usual suspects, Nondomiso Shangasri, Masabata Class, and all of them are there in thereabouts. Ayabonga Khaka, and you've got Malaba as well, with her slow left arm. So, more or less, a side that we expected is there. It's just that, yeah, injuries unfortunately have plagued them a bit too much now for this series. Hopefully, they all will be fit and ready to go come the World Cup later on this year. That was that from the Tri series. Sri Lanka unfortunately haven't announced the squad yet. Dekhne kya hota hai. Starts on the 27th. We go live next on the 3rd of May, 12 p.m. sharp. So 2 weeks from now, and we should be done with the Tri series by then. So we'll be reviewing it then. Last talking point before we wrap tonight's or today's episode. हमेशा tonight बोलता हूँ मैं. Charlotte Edwards. Last episode में हमने बात किया था कि यार Charlotte Edwards has to be the name that they go for, and Charlotte Edwards is the name that England go for. Neha expected था ये, but फिर भी a very good selection, almost a coup in some sense for England.
Yeah, a very positive development coming in from the England setup, right? I think after that women's Ashes, the writing was pretty much on the wall, and Charlotte Edwards had to be that sort of a success. So she has done enough for her resume, winning all those domestic tournaments for Southern Vipers, and then doing her thing in the 100, and in the WPL we've seen the kind of magic she's produced at that setup. So really happy to see Charlotte Edwards. Even very interestingly, the media interaction she had, at the Lords with the reporters and everything, she kind of took a swipe at John Lewis, with the inspire and entertain motto finally being questioned. She's like, I'm here to win. A lot of coaches, don't speak openly about it, but I know that the girls have this sort of a capability. And she's someone who doesn't mince words. I think she spoke about the fitness aspect, coming under the scanner. And I think even the ECB released a video of all the players after the yo-yo test and everything. So there's clear intent, that she's getting straight to it and doing her thing. Right now, she's profiling all the players to see what's happening. The women's county also, will be starting off. Like they have 3 tiers and all of that. And we know Charlotte Edwards is someone who will actually go watch the games and, try to bring out the best of best players. Even Australia A versus England A was happening, where she was keeping a close look at who were the players performing well, who could possibly get a call up even for the future series and all of that. So it's a very positive development. And even England, right? They're someone who have a very transparent process of getting their coach on. So apparently they have some Robinson policy, and they have to interview a white person, a person who's black, and someone of Asian ethnicity. And this time around, they actually didn't follow that because they were so certain. Like Claire Connell was so certain that they wanted Charlotte Edwards that they didn't kind of followed this policy, which was very interesting when I actually read it. Which goes to show, right, that they believe that she was the candidate. And even last time around, like during the John Lewis appointment time itself, a lot of people felt, hey, but Charlotte Edwards actually be that sort of a candidate we can consider. But at that time, she felt, that she was not probably the best because she was just getting into her coaching side of things. And just read that interaction she had with the reporters as well. She feels now that she is a much better coach than she was as a captain. So when you see a coach being so confident and, like the kind of self-belief that they have in their own abilities makes for good viewing as well. A lot of people will question the timing of this because you just have a World Cup. But then she believes that she can bring out the best from these players and make them, title contenders for the World Cup. Hopefully all of these statements, age well. But I think right now, Charlotte Edwards as England's head coach was probably the best thing that could happen to them. And a lot of players too have expressed their support, we actually believe in you. So hopefully England can, kind of come out of this rut of, not performing so well in ICC events. And she's also able to hire the right sort of, not hire, like appoint the right, sort of captain as well. Yeah.
And, my 2 cents on the whole, not changing your captain or coach ahead of the World Cup. I do stand my ground. Abhi India ke liye maine wahi bola. And I agree with sports fan when he or she says that England changing their coach and captain just before the World Cup is not ideal. We don't see teams like Australia or England tinker with their setup in the middle of a World Cup cycle. Fair enough, but where I'll probably give England the benefit of doubt is, unlike say India, they more or less know their 11, their 15. The names are there. The choices are. I don't think Charlotte Edwards ke aane ke baad you're going to see 5-6 new names coming in altogether Danny Whitehorse goes out, Tammy Beaumont goes out, Nat Silverbrand goes out, Sophie Eccles, वो नहीं होने वाला. It's going to be more or less the same setup. It's, I'm guessing, more from a coaching perspective, from a personnel management perspective that they were lacking, and that's why they think Charlotte Edwards would be the right person to shepherd them as a group. I don't think Charlotte Edwards is being brought in just for her tactical move. That's not the. I mean, of course, that is expected off of her results के लिए तो वो भी करना पड़ेगा, and she's great at that. We've seen that across leagues, but it's also because she can handle these players at a personal level. They can have it. I think there'll be a lot more Ritish talking to her about, I don't know, whatever it is. So I'm guessing that's what they were looking to. How do we create a space that's a lot more comfortable where players are able to, perform to the best of their abilities? And I think Charlotte Edwards is a great fit for that. So uh, on the one hand, I do agree that it's not great to change your coach ahead of a World Cup, but in this case, I think the situation is slightly different. I don't think there is too much to be considered on in terms of अरे नाम ही नहीं पता लेंगे किसको and all of that वैसा वाला scene नहीं है. So it's okay. I think it's fair. And I'm genuinely looking forward to Charlotte Edwards. Like Neha mentioned already, मतलब आते ही काम शुरू कर दिया उन्होंने. So that's good to see, because it's important that they hit the ground running as soon as possible. And for what it's worth, John Lewis was also brought in 2 months out of the 2023 World Cup. So it's happened before with England, so nothing to be surprised about. And clearly the performances weren't there. You can see where England was coming from, because there are certain standards that they want to adhere to, that they want to stick to, and clearly those standards weren't met. So they wanted to look past John Rose. So that is understandable. So you've got to see that, right? Like, itna paisa, itna effort, infrastructure, invest karne ke baad, if you're not able to make the knockout stages of a T20 World Cup, if you're not able to win against Australia, if you're just being hammered left, right, and center, then definitely there needs to be some introspection to be done, and that's what's happened. So good for them, and hopefully Alex Hartley की तरफ थोड़ा भी team का जो hostility है वो कम हो जाएगा. I hope that also changes, because that was also not a pleasant sight, to be honest. I hope everything's addressed over there too. Let's just take a few more comments before we move on. First thing, you should be honest with yourself. Selection shouldn't be based on PR but on performance. I don't know what is this in context to. Like, kya tha Neha? Any idea?
I think he's probably taking a swipe at India, right? We see a lot of players getting selected on reputation, but probably, with Charlotte Edwards coming in, she has emphasized on domestic performances, being given some weight. So I'm assuming Amit is probably coming from that school of thought.
All right, fair point, Amit. Of course, they should always be based on performances. Meritocracy is always something we also, vouch for. So definitely, completely agree with you there. Money says Charlotte Edwards is a great coach at all domestic leagues. It's a good time for the England women's team to have her. I think Nat Silverbrand is going to be the captain. Hopefully, Nat and Edwards together can give better results. Fair enough, Money. I mean, I still have my reservations about Nat Silverbrand, the skipper. And again, no confirmation on that yet. Neha, like, kya chal raha? Because even last time we spoke, a lot of other names have actually been doing the rounds. Amy Jones, Charlie Dean. Yeah, matlab, do you see anything like that happening? Split captaincy, or Nat Silverbrand just not being handed the captaincy at all?
I think this is an interesting one, Akshay. I think they're probably going to wait to see how the first few rounds of the domestic comp that has just started will progress. I mean, Nat Silverbrand does look like the front runner, but I think under Charlotte Edwards, she would be probably tempted to have that split captaincy sort of things. Invest in younger players. I mean, imagine having someone like Grace Cribbins lead the T20 side, but for that, pehle debut to kar le. It would be very left field, I know. But at least for me, Nat Silverbrand does look like the front runner. But I don't know why the English media has been speculating so much on, like Sophie Eccleston, Charlie Dean, and all being considered for captain. And they even go and ask the player, like Charlie Dean, like publicly said, that probably it's a little too early. I'm just, finding my feet, sort of a situation. But I think Charlotte Edwards is someone who will take her time to, come to that decision, and probably the domestic side of things will give her a better idea. I'm sure she would have a name in her mind, but just waiting to see how the next few weeks progress. And I think England next plays West Indies in May, right? So there's still time to come to that sort of a decision. So I don't think she'd want to rush herself immediately.
Chalo, theek hai. Time for us to now wrap up today's episode 17 of the Women's Cricket Podcast. Beech mein to humne nahi bola, but folks, all of you, please make sure hit the like button if you haven't already. And all of you watching on Spotify, aap log bhi yaar, please do us a favor, wahan pe bhi like button dabao, and please hop on to YouTube. We're trying to build a community. So yeah, please you do that. Until then, it's a goodbye from all of us. Let's be going live 2 weeks from now on the 3rd of May. Of course, we'll put out posts and promote it online. So in case you forget, 3rd of May, again, same time, 12 p.m. sharp, we will be live discussing all things women's cricket yet again. It's a goodbye. Take care. Have a great weekend. And importantly, have a great IPL too. Until then, bye-bye.